Welcome to the preview show of Off the Rail, live from Harrah's Atlantic City for the 47th edition of the US Open Pool Championship. Delighted as always to be joined by Karl Boys, former runner-up in the US Open. I like reminding you of that of every year, Karl, but thanks for joining me. Before we get started, I kind of want to kick things off with the US Open itself and just for your perspective as a player, as a former player, why is the US Open so special?
I think obviously it's got a lot of history. You said it's the 47th year, but I think if you look at, obviously I'm from England, so we used to call it American pool. That's changed a little bit, I've started to call it 9-ball, but in England we've always called it American pool, because you've got the snooker and the English 8-ball. But I think if you look all around the world, pool players from everywhere have come to America at some point. They've travelled around, they've played in tournaments, they've played the gambling matches. The pool rooms are class over here, they've got all these games, they've got a load of tournaments, and no matter where you're from, you've come here, you've spent a lot of time here, and obviously the fact that US Open is in its 47th year, I think it's just the history really, and it's just a tournament that everyone wants to win.
So what you're saying there, obviously, the World 9-Ball Tour, we've got a bunch of open events now, but what separates the US Open from those recent open events that Matchroom have started doing is the history behind it, the fact that it's been going so long.
Yeah, without a doubt. If you look at the World 9-Ball Championships and the US Open Championships, for me they're the two biggest tournaments we have in the sport of 9-ball, without a doubt. They're the ones that have got the most history. If you cast your mind back to someone like Earl Strickland, who is arguably the biggest name in America in pool terms, he's a legend. He's won it 5 times, and these people from, in that era, they've made their name, through 9-ball and from the US Open, and that continues to date, doesn't it, when you look at the modern era. So I just think it's the tournament where if you asked any pool player which tournaments do you want to win, they would always say World Championships and US Open. In either order, to be honest. I don't really feel like the World Championships separates it from the US Open in history. Obviously now there's a big check to win, so
it certainly helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, so obviously they're going to pick World Championships now, but the history, the fact that you get that green jacket put on you, we have the national anthem, on some of the evenings, and it just seems very special.
We're talking of big names. There is a little special twist to the US Open this year. A big name in sport, in any sport. Matchroom's president, Barry Hearn, OBE, taking part in the US Open for the first time this year, alongside Andy Goldstein of TalkSport, former presenter of the Mosconi Cup as well, someone who knows Q Sports and pool very well. What do you make of that, Karl, firstly?
Well, it's just wild, isn't it? I've since I got the news, or sort of leading up to this event, sort of life just flashes by, doesn't it? I think, did I used to play pool? Yeah, I did actually used to play pool. I've played in the Mosconi Cup. How did I ever play in the Mosconi Cup? And now we're here at the US Open, I'm not playing. And obviously we're going to see Barry Hearn screw the two pieces of wood together. Obviously Andy Goldstein, a lot of people watching this who follow pool in depth, American pool, might not know much about Andy Goldstein, but he's a tidy player. He used to play Q Sports years ago. He's got like a real sort of deep relationship with Q Sports. As you said, he's been the presenter of the Mosconi Cup. He's worked on snooker. He's friends with like Ronnie O'Sullivan, I think.
Went to school together, actually.
Went to school together, yeah. I did read that, actually. Yeah, went to school together. So he's, he does love Q Sports, and you've seen him. I've not seen him play up close. I remember seeing a clip from years back. Tell me, what can we expect from Goldstein?
I mean, Andy certainly knows his way around the table. He's got pretty solid Q action. He knows what he wants to do. He's not, I think if he puts himself in the right mindset, the problem is he's playing Ralph Souquet the first round, Karl. Yeah. Former world champion, former US Open champion, Ralph Souquet. I mean, I spoke to Andy briefly when he was playing with Barry in Romford. They had a couple of practice sessions, and Andy's been putting in a ton of practice.
Yeah, he's been putting loads of practice.
Yeah, Andy, quite interestingly, when I spoke to both of them, Barry said, give me the big fish, give me whoever. I want anyone. I want Ko Ping Chung, I want Jason Shaw, I want Joshua Filler. Andy is actually taking this really, really seriously. So he said to me, he was like, I think I want someone who's lower down the rankings, maybe plays the moment, the environment, if they're not used to playing on the TV tables, because Andy expects to be on the TV table. And he's drawn Ralph Souquet. I mean,
yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? I don't know what to think of that. I mean, obviously Ralph's a legend, but I'm just thinking if I was on tour right now, or let's say FEDO Gorse, Filler, Catcher, the younger, the breed, they're probably going to look at Ralph Souquet now and think, yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah, 100%.
Like if you'd drawn Ralph in the last 64 in the single elimination round, no disrespect to Ralph,
of course,
but he's at the latter stage of his career, and he's actually not been doing too bad. He's been having some close matches. obviously he's still a phenomenal player, there's no doubt about it, but sort of that younger breed of player, I'd think, that's not too bad. But obviously with Goldstein, it's an interesting match.
Yeah.
I just don't know how it's going to go.
I am so intrigued how it goes. I really, really hope Barry does well. There's one thing that's quite funny is, you know Barry, people that have seen Barry do interviews, he is one of the most confident people in the world. Oh, yeah, always got a word to say. And what's been quite interesting in the build up to this is I've started to see him get a little bit nervous, but in a good way, in the sense that he's taking this really seriously.
It's like nearly time.
Yeah, he wants to be competitive, and I think when I was at Romford Snooker Hall last week, seeing him practice, it felt like that it started to sink in, the realisation that he's playing in the US Open next week. And he had Steve Davis down with him as well, giving a few tips. I mean, 11-time Mosconi Cup winner, Mosconi Cup player, should I say, sorry. And Eddie, his son, Eddie Hearn, came by to give him a few pointers as well, which was quite funny. So
I think Eddie's more ripping him. I heard the TalkSport thing. I don't think Eddie's giving some tips. It's just you're going to get drilled.
Yeah, as he would do. But, Steve gave him some really good pointers. Interestingly enough, one of Steve's pointers, and I thought actually made quite a bit of sense, was he said, Barry, what you don't want to do is probably look to try and run racks, because the percentages of you doing that with these conditions that we've now got on the World Nine Tour are quite low. Yeah. He actually recommended, which might seem a bit mental, was to chase the 9 if an option's on. What do you think about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, let's take it serious for a second. Obviously, fair play to Barry for having a go. Why not? You know what I mean? He's done everything else in sport, hasn't he? And, he may as well just have a go, because he's promoted everything, and if it wasn't for him, the US Open wouldn't be in Atlantic City and growing to this sort of huge event that it is. And obviously with the World Nine Ball Tour, so he's decided to put the cues together. But that is the beauty of what we're trying to do on the tour. Where we have a lot of open events, a lot of events where pretty much anyone can qualify, or you can get in the tournament and just have a go. It doesn't matter who you are. So that's the beauty of what the WNT is doing. But how is he going to get on? I mean, listen, he's playing Konrad Juscherson, who's is a talent. But 9 ball's a funny game.
Yep.
It's about getting to 9. Mm-hmm. It's not about winning 9-0, or it's not like someone's just going to completely dominate every rack. Konrad, for instance, he might run the table, land a little funny on the 9. He could stick it over the hole. Yeah. You just never know. But listen, if I was in Baz's corner, I'd be saying just keep chasing that 9, because you want to see him pot the 9, don't you?
It might rattle Conrad as well when he's like, what's Barry doing, just chasing the 9 every time? I think what we can say about Andy with Ralph Souquet is Ralph is the consummate professional. He will treat that game like any opponent. He will not play the moment. He will play the game itself as it should be played, which is probably bad news for Andy, isn't it?
Yeah, listen, if Ralph's playing Andy Goldstein or Joshua Filler, he's walking around the table, he's checking the angles, he's playing all the correct shots. But again, you just, listen, they're both going to get beat. Let's not pull any punches. However, are they going to get beat 9-0? What do you think?
Eddie certainly thinks it. There is actually, Eddie said with Barry, there is dinner on the line. If Barry can win 1 rack, Eddie's going to take him up for a slap-up meal.
Oh, he's got to chase him.
So, yeah. But obviously, like we said, we're not kidding anyone. We obviously expect them to lose the first match. But when they go into the loser's side, they could play someone, who is a lesser opponent, someone who isn't a WNT pro. Could you fancy Barry to take a rack in a match against someone who has maybe won a qualifier or got a wild card spot?
Listen, if somebody's tuning into this video and they're wondering what we're talking about, chasing the 9, let's just break it down a little bit. There's 9 balls on the table. As long as you hit the lowest ball first, if another ball goes in, you stay at the table. If a 9 goes in, you win the rack. So obviously, you're talking about players who are not on the same level. So, listen, he can win a rack or 2. There's no 2 ways about it. But listen, if you was a betting man, you'd say 9-0. Goldstein, I think he can win a rack,
Yeah, I've seen him play.
Yeah.
He can pop
Well,
balls.
you've seen him play,
yeah.
So.
It's all about the moment, how they get on. You never know. They could completely freeze up. Like you said earlier to me off air, the pressure when you walk out there is totally different to when you talk about it, isn't it? Once you're screwing those cues together and you're in that arena under those lights, something changes, doesn't it? I don't know, I've never done it, but you have.
Yeah, listen, it doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're Shane Van Bonen, you've won it 5 times. As soon as you put the cue together and you pull the chalk out and you start a match, there's just that little bit of like anticipation, you know, the nerves are there. I don't care what Barry Hearn's done in any sport, you know, he's seen it all, he's done it all, he's a freaking billionaire. As soon as he puts the cue together, he's going to be sat in that chair thinking, oh, I'm a little bit edgier.
No amount
You'll
of money.
be there with a camera, I'll be there peeping over the back, everyone will be there. But
no
listen,
amount of money could buy any nerves, could it?
But listen, why not have a go? Because, you know, like I said before, he's done everything else, so you may as well experience that.
I can't wait. He's also got a custom T-shirt, the Governor. It's got the Governor on the back. I can't wait for that.
Banter,
yeah, it's going to be great. You mentioned about Shane Van Bonen there. I wanted to talk about some US legends. Obviously, Shane and Earl both playing in the US Open this year, both 5-time winners as one of their most memorable achievements, both going for a 6th US Open. Let's not kid ourselves. Everyone would love to see Earl go on a good run, let alone win it. You know, you think in Tiger Woods Masters kind of vibe in 2019. But for Shane, a much more realistic target of winning a 6th title. Just how amazing would that be if Shane could get that done this year? Yeah,
do you know what? I fancy Shane this year for the job. I really do. He's obviously, as we're filming this, he's 2/3 of the way through a big match against FEDO Goldstein. You know, they're playing for hours upon it. They're playing race to 40 every day for 3 days, so it's race to 120. And Shane Van Bonen is a very unique character. He plays his best pool when he literally lives on the table. Not, you know, some people 2 or 3 hours go for dinner. Premier League pool, I remember being in comms with Scott Frost and he was telling me he's not even having dinner. In that little break that we were getting, he was just going up practice table all day, all night. So I think the fact that he's playing this game right now, right before the Open, listen, you play 120 racks against someone like FEDO Goldstein, you're going to come in here feeling like God. And I just think, you know, with what he's put into the sport and how well he's done in the US Open, I do think he will break the record at some point. I think it might be his year.
I wanted to talk about that long race that Shane and Federer are playing at the moment. So for me, as someone who doesn't play the sport but is just a sports fan, I would think playing something that intense and that enduring right before one of the biggest events of the year, I don't know if that would be good preparation. But talk to me as a non-pool player, as a former pool player. Do you think Shane will benefit from that? What about Federer?
I think Shane will. I think certain players would. I think Federer will be okay.
Yeah.
He's a little bit like Shane, isn't he, where he lives and breathes it. You know, he travels all over the world. He's having a great season, obviously. So whoever wins or loses that match, I don't think it matters coming into the Open. So I think both of them two would be okay. I think if it was me, I'll be getting beat first round.
Yeah, exactly.
Game over. I think it depends on how you prepare for tournaments.
Yeah.
Even someone like Neil's fine. It'd be no good for somebody like him because he might play 2 or 3 hours and, you know, really practice the sort of correct way and do everything right. But I think them two will be just fine.
Let's talk about some of the American hopes outside of Shane and Earl. Most notably, I think if you were to ask 100 pool fans, Americans to do well, Skyler and Fedor going to be the top 2 names.
Well, let me just go back to Earl.
Yeah, sure.
Because do you know what? He still plays great, you know.
He does, yeah.
But you know, when you watch Earl, you want him to do well, you think, and then he'll play and you'll think, God, he can still play.
Yeah.
But then something just seems to happen. Did it in Moscone Cup.
Yeah,
when he played Moscone, he played Jason Shaw.
Yeah.
He was 3-0 up in that match. He was beating Albin in a match. He was playing doubles.
The doubles with Shane, I remember he just taking shots too quickly. There's just a blip that is going to be his undoing, isn't there?
The ball's there, he runs out, he looks like, you know, he's freaking 30 years old.
Yeah.
There's just almost like some sort of shot selections where you think, you know, like, if Shane said, Earl, just do this, or instead of doing that, he just always seems to do something, and then it sort of unravels and he ends up losing. But
do you think it's because he's towards the end of his career now, and mentally, before he misses a shot, he's expecting himself to maybe throw a mistake in a rack rather than, you know, run out, and he's thinking, when is that mistake going to come?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the answers to it, but you're probably not far wrong, are you? Maybe it is that, but you know, when you do watch him, you think he's played 3 or 4 racks like as good as anybody in the world there. He's still... And he likes the smaller pocket, he likes all that, but, you know, listen, you got to be realistic. Is he going to win it a 6th time? You would probably say no, wouldn't you?
It would be the story of all stories.
It'd be mental.
It would be absolutely crazy.
But you're right, you know, you're talking about Woodward, you know, he's just had a good European Open.
Yeah, another semi-final.
Yeah, he's Moscone Cup captain, and he's one of them characters where he needs a lot of table time. That's why he loses early on in a lot of tournaments. Then comes through losers section of the draw. So he's probably like, you know, along with, you know, if you look at, let's say, Shane and FEDO, you would put Skyler at that next sort of US player who's going to snap
100%. And obviously FEDO, a newly adopted American to the circuit. I looked at the stats actually, and this would be really interesting. He currently holds the Whirlpool Championship and the Whirlpool Masters. That has been done by a couple of players, Ralph Souquet being one of them. But no player has ever held the US Open, the Whirlpool Masters, and the World Championship all in the same year. I mean, we talk of, you know, great achievements in sport, the Tiger Slam. Would you think if FEDO was to go all the way and do that, we'd have our Gorst Slam, FEDO Slam?
Listen, it would be incredible. Let's not forget he lost in the final last year. I know it's not the same calendar year, but he's lost in the final of the Open. As you said, he's won the Masters and he's won the Worlds, but you know, if he does win the US Open, I just, listen, things happen in sport, but I just don't see anyone ever doing that. I just really don't.
Hall of Fame career at 24 already, would you say?
Yes, I mean, obviously.
2 World Championships, a Whirlpool Masters.
I mean, obviously, we could do with the WNT Hall of Fame, couldn't we?
Yeah.
And then we'll have our own debate on the Hall of Fame, I think.
Definitely. So we've talked about the American players. Let's talk about some of the other players, the chasing pack on the World 9-Ball Tour. We've got a bunch of guys who have won big WNT events this year. Robbie Capito, Mickey Kraus most recently at the European. Is there anyone of that ilk that you fancy could go on a really good run this week and snap off one of the biggest events on tour?
Yes, I think there's a few, and I think what's helping the players that maybe have not won it yet, so let's just say somebody like Fortunski, or Pierce Labutus, even Sanjin Perlovanovic, these players are all in that little pocket in this little group. Even though they've not won them yet, they're seeing Capito, they're seeing Mickey Kraus, so that gives you a bit of belief, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But listen, let's not be naive. You know, winning, UK Open, European Open, it's different to win the World Championships, and it's different to winning the US Open. This just feels different. It feels bigger. You know, we've seen it. You know, Max Lettner got to the final.
Against Fran.
Yeah, and Ruiz come through. He broke through. We've seen it last year. Everyone probably thought Gorst, he's going to snap it off. Didn't quite perform in the final. Johan Chua just lost in the final. Didn't show up in the final. He's just won an event in Philippines, actually. I think it was today.
It was, yeah.
So, you know, what a run of form he's having, semis of the World Championships. But to get over the line here in this event, I still always feel like it's one of them top tier pros. But listen, Capito, Mickey Kraus, that chasing pack who are in that same group as them, if not someone's a bit above in the pecking order, they've got to look at them boys and think, well, if they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah, we've not even spoke about the defending champion, and no disrespect to Cope and Chung, I want to talk about that because
we're always talking about the Cope.
Yeah, they're unbelievable, especially the two elder ones. But Cope and Chung, defending champion, he's still in good form at the moment, and let's not forget that run to the final included a semi-final win against Aloysius Yap where he potted 99 balls versus Yap who potted none. I think he had about 3 or 4 shots that match. So if Ping Chung clicks into a gear, he's a force to be reckoned with on any day, isn't he?
Yeah, but listen, we all know that. But what about the guy you just mentioned, Yap?
Yeah.
He likes the US Open.
Yeah, former finalist,
semis last year. So, you know, when you go to a tournament and you've had like good times there and deep runs, it's funny how things just seem to pan out and go that way. But listen, there's, I mean, how many players would you think are in that sort of bracket? There's probably, I bet there's 50. I always find it a bit funny, you know, when you speak to people, they think, oh, there's 50 people that can win this tournament. I think that's just nonsense.
Yeah.
I don't think there's nowhere near 50.
No.
I never think there's 50.
No.
I think you've probably got like 10 serious contenders.
Yeah, who you'd expect to see in the last 16 for sure.
Serious contenders.
Yeah. But I think you could say, even looking at this year, you wouldn't have picked Robbie Capito and Mickey Kraus. No disrespect to both of those guys, both excellent young players.
I might have picked Kraus.
Yeah, breakout star. I mean, you've not said it enough, have you, this
Just
year?
every day.
Yeah, exactly. But with that in mind, you've got your usual names, but this year's thrown up some new winners, which is great. Who knows? You know, one guy could click into gear this week at the US Open and do that. We haven't spoke about Eklan Katchi. You know, he won the UK Open last year, former Whirlpool Masters finalist. Got to the final of the World Champs this year as well.
Yeah, he's like half a rack away from being world champ.
Yeah, you know, and he's been unbelievable. What do you fancy his chances at the US Open this year, this week?
He's in that top tier bracket, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I know I'm going out on a limb saying Shane Van Bonen, but you have to pick like a group of players. Katchi would be in my top 10 to win it, you know, my favourites. And then just under, you've probably got like 15 guys you might go sort of the outsiders, you know, your Labutus, Oliver Shulnocky, he's always there, isn't he? Shulnocky, you know what I mean? He's always got his name in the hat.
Yeah, had his semi-final run at the World Champs, didn't he, a couple of years
Yeah,
back,
that's what
2021.
I mean. But obviously they always get through qualification rounds.
Yeah, of course.
They've always got the name in the hat. He never seems to get, you know, beat big, does he? He's very, you know, he's got a very good tactical game. So Shulnocky wouldn't surprise me to, you know, be there at the depths. God, there's a few in there.
Before we go into more players, I wanted to talk about, we've spoken about Yap, Kachi, FEDO and Mickey Krause. They've all made it for either the Reyes Cup or the Mosconi Cup or both. Do you think that lack of pressure that they've now qualified for those really prestigious invitational events means that they're going to have better runs in these Opens? Because the chasing pack that we've kind of touched on, there's more at stake for those guys because they haven't sealed those spots.
Yes.
Which way do you think that works?
No,
do you
I think it goes that way. I also think every year, you know, on the rankings to make the top 3 for the team, somebody's always looking like they're going to do well. We were speaking about Mickey Krause. He's lingering there. He's doing okay in the ranking events, the smaller ranking events. And obviously, he goes and wins the European Open. What pressure he had in that final. I know Chewy didn't show up, but he can't do that about it. He still had to go out there and play well. Knowing that, let's be honest, if you don't make the top 3, he's probably not going to get in the team. Because it's a captain, you'd do well to pick a rookie, wouldn't you?
Definitely.
That's the unfortunate
Definitely, if you know what's good for you.
Yeah, but that's what the rankings are for. But he went out there, he knew if he wins that match, I'm in the Reyes Cup. Obviously, he's in a phenomenal spot for the Mosconi Cup. And I just think it's his year. I just think he's going to come here. I think he'll qualify. He'll get out of the qualification. He'll be in the last 64. Who's he going to draw? We don't know. But he's on that little hot streak, isn't he?
And what an interesting little Reyes Cup team we've got building for Team Europe already with Kachi and Mickey Krause. Mickey obviously now in contention to qualify for the Mosconi as well.
I thought you meant the Asian team as well.
Well, that as well. I mean, you've got Yap and Chura as well. You know, I think that's the beauty of the rankings and rewarding people on having good years, you know, on current form. You've got Victor Zielinski, David Al-Khadi, these guys chasing down the European spots. They would probably be 3 names that you wouldn't put on the team sheet if you were to ask 50 pool fans who's going to be the automatic qualification for Team Europe. And the same for the Reyes Cup, I would say, as well, for the Asians.
Well, the thing is with the Mosconi Cup, for instance, or European team, let's just say, whether it's Reyes Cup or Mosconi Cup, again, people always say, oh, we could have 3 or 4 teams. Completely disagree.
Yeah.
Completely disagree. If you've never played in a Mosconi Cup, obviously you've been to a load, you've worked on it. The way they set the arena up and you've got all them fans in there ain't a tournament like it.
No.
Nothing's like that.
It makes me nervous working on it, let alone going out there playing.
Nothing's like it. You know, obviously a lot of rookies over the years have done well. We've seen Kazakis didn't really play his game. He's not really been seen since. You know, since he won the Masters and he got in the World Cup, in the Mosconi Cup, sorry. He's just sort of disappeared. I know he's just had twins, so listen, we're all like to disappear if you've got twins, you know what I mean? But
in all my years on the Mosconi Cup, just talking to debutants, my first Mosconi Cup was 2017.
Right.
And Joshua Filler was the debut that year. He went 5-0 and won the MVP, but he's a generational talent.
Yeah, I mean,
I can't think of many more sort of debutants that thrive in that environment, more like Joshua Filler.
Yeah, Joshua Filler's like, you know, he's a sports phenomenon, isn't he? You know, he's still doing it now. But, you know, when you look at the team now, I just think Europe have always like had them 3 qualify, pick your 2 wild cards, strong team, strong team, strong team. Listen, Mickey Krause, you know, he's in the Reyes Cup team. You just, how's he going to react?
What do you think that makes for the Reyes Cup? Because you haven't got the big hitters that you'd expect. Your Jason Shaws and Joshua Fillers aren't in yet. Do you think that's going to make for a closer Reyes Cup or at least a more dramatic one?
Well, I have a theory on this.
Go on.
Whatever the 5 Asians are, they ain't going to be used to playing in that setting.
Yep.
So the likelihood is you're going to have 4 Europeans and let's just say 1 rookie, if it does pan out that way, right? So the 4 guys who've played in the Mosconi Cups know how to win in that team format, in that environment. You win a match, you lose a match, you come straight off, someone else goes out. You've got all that going on, haven't you? Listen, Joshua Filler's going to be in the Reyes Cup team, qualify or not.
Yeah.
The captain's never not picking him, are they? Do you know what I mean? So Europeans know how to get the job done. The Asians, they're going into the complete unknown.
Do you think we've never spoken about this either, but it's something I've always thought about, the language barrier as well. You've got, in Europe, very lucky in the sense that most of the top Europeans, if not all of them, all speak English pretty well. So when it comes to organising the team, picking the lineups, organising practice, that's going to be quite useful. But with the Asians, you could have, well, you've got a Filipino, you've got a Singaporean at the minute. If you chuck in a Chinese Taipei player, probably, one of a Japanese, a Vietnamese, they all speak different languages.
Yeah,
that's going to be quite interesting, isn't it? How you arrange and organise that.
And also, the crowd. We don't know what the crowd's going to be doing. Is it going to be like 50-50? What Europeans are going to go? Is it going to be a similar vibe to the Moscone? It's just the complete unknown. But I think, regardless, I think you'd still got to favour the Europeans.
Yeah.
But listen, the Asians are a joke, aren't they? So.
Yeah.
But
like, it's a like for like, aren't they?
Well, regardless of all these things, it's the matchup we've all waited to see.
Yeah.
People have been begging for a Reyes Cup for years.
Yeah.
Matchroom have delivered. We're going to see it. We're going to see it soon, and obviously that'll create its own little history books. But going to the other team event, the Moscone Cup, I tell you what, I just feel. I know America. They got a bit of a drumming last year, and Gorse made the switch and all this, and we're thinking, it's going to be closer. But I don't think America are that far away.
No.
I think we're very close to seeing a proper tight match, or maybe even an American win.
And the rumours are that there might be a slight format change to the Moscone Cup this year as well. So I think something like that, which might see more doubles matches, maybe even more teams matches, we don't know for definite. But if that was to change, that would certainly balance the favour, wouldn't it? Because obviously we saw lots of Joshua Filler, lots of Jason Shaw. JJ took the gamble with lots of FEDO Gorse last year. It didn't quite pay off, but I think balancing that, having more team matches, more doubles matches, that would certainly help.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we've gone off on a tangent here and we're talking about the teams, but
that's what we always do, don't we?
No, but that is because obviously we're at the US Open, and obviously it's not just about trying to win, Pool's one of Pool's biggest prizes. It's it's what's going to come after if you win it, and them team events. We're at that business end of the year, aren't we now? Where every time we get to the US Open, and obviously Hanoi, we're thinking, right, who's going to get in the teams, who's going to win.
The players are a little bit different, aren't they, as well now? They carry
feels
themselves
serious.
Yeah, I love it. There's a bit of tension, you can feel it in the air almost, can't you?
Yeah,
but
definitely.
We've spoken a lot there about the Reyes and the Moscone. Let's just get back to the US Open before we wrap things up.
Yep.
We spoke about the chasing pack, the legends, Barry and Andy. Can we talk about legitimate contenders? And that's no disrespect to the chasing pack, but let's have a quick discussion about some guys that you think are really going to be there at the business end that you expect to be there. Who's on your list there?
Well, you've got to go Shane, FEDO, Filler, Cobros, Copenhagen. Sorry, try and surprise us.
Yeah.
Who've I missed there? Johan Chua, really. Catchy. Reyes, obviously, former winner. Shaw, is he quite in that bracket? I don't quite think so. Not just in that bracket. He's sort of in his own bracket, just slightly below them, but ahead of the rest.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? But obviously US Open, he's won it before. He's not won the Matchroom version. He's won the other version. So he has got a US Open to his name. And I thought the European, he's been away with his family all the summer. With two kids.
Yeah.
That'll be draining.
Hard work at the best of times, wouldn't it?
On your mind. So I think, as long as he can come here and he looks a bit fresher and he looks up for it, I believe he's got a great chance as well. Obviously, he won in Hanoi, so he's got a good chance. But listen, he's in that bracket. Let's not be silly. Probably being a bit unjustified to him there. So you've got 10, haven't you, else? Biardo.
Yeah, we haven't even spoke about Biardo, have we?
Class act,
unbelievable.
You know what I mean?
Won it in 2021, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely in that. There's 10 or 12 guys.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly exciting, isn't it, Karl? I mean, I can't wait for the action to start. Can you?
Pick a winner. I'm going to say Shane.
You're going to go Shane.
And I never pick Shane.
No,
to be fair.
It's normally JJ. Normally JJ. If JJ would say Skylar, he tends to go Skylar for everything.
He goes Shane, and I always say Filler, but. Yeah, I think Shane, just because he's playing this big game right now, he's going to be in stroke. I thought the way he was breaking at European, I just loved it. He was absolutely drilling the hard cut break.
Shane would be amazing for the stories, wouldn't it? I just think of obviously working in the media side of things, I can't help but think about the potential stories that could grow out of that.
You're going to say Barry Hearn, I need to get a rise.
No, I'm not going to go Barry. If he's listening, Barry, I'm backing you.
I believe in you, Bazza.
Yeah. I don't really know. Oh, God, you put me on the spot now. I am going to go with I know Kachi didn't have a great European Open. He didn't make the last 64, but I feel like he can be that sort of player. I feel like he's going to want to make a good run for himself and a big statement. So I'm going to go with the big Albanian for Clint Kachi.
Okay, SVB.
And Kachi. I mean, that'd be a great final, wouldn't it? We'd take that all day.
Brilliant,
Should we shake on it?
Yeah, let's
cool.
do it.
All right, well, great to talk, Karl. The action starts on Monday live from 10 a.m. Catch us on Matchroom Pool with Matchroom Motorsport YouTube. We'll see you then.